With so many templates, dungeons, and wilderness locations, it can be a little daunting knowing where to farm in Ultima Online Outlands as a brand new player. So in this video, I'm going to show you 6 locations that are great for those of you looking to bolster your bank balance, acquire some powerful magical items, as well as go on many adventures. We'll begin with the most obvious but very important for any new player, the New Player Dungeon. The New Player Dungeon is located on Shelter Island, where all new blue-clad players begin. It is classed as an aggression-free region, meaning no player killers, thieves, or looting of other players. This dungeon is unique, carefully tailored to new players or new characters. It has a 10x skill gain bonus, but only to a cap of 80, meaning you can get your first few skill points in relative safety. This dungeon may not offer the toughest of enemies or the most gold, but it is a wonderful place to get on your feet, figuring out your skill settings and getting to grips with the basics of your character. Consider this a self-taught tutorial of sorts. You won't strike it rich in New Player Dungeon, but you'll understand your skills and be able to ask more poignant questions in the New Player channel over on Discord. Once you hit 80 skill points though, you've reached the cap of Shelter Island, and it's time to go on your next adventure. My first stop is the Ratman Hovel. This one-floor dungeon is just outside Pavelia, meaning it's easy to access for new players without runes yet. At first it appears quite simple, the basic rats falling to your blade with limited gold. However, this dungeon is a little deceiving. It's small in stature, but has a wealth of rats ready to strike you down, offering lovely progression for new players. Fight off the basic rats at the dungeon entrance before progressing to the Ratmen, then head further down to the Rat Shamans before, and only when you're ready, proceed into the darkest corner of the hovel to take on Storm Rats, Shadowrunners, and Abominations. I love this dungeon for new players as it truly feels like a progression of your character power. The rats feel easy at first, but the further you go, the deeper you dive, the harder it gets. My biggest advice for any new players is to watch for the disease effects. The rats and ratmen truly will feel simple at first, but get a few diseases applied and your health will quickly tick down to 0. Next we have Urkuton Bluffs, north of Pavelia. This Orc fort contains an outer ring of enemies, but it's the inside 3-floor dungeon that I advise you challenge yourself with. Each floor will increase in difficulty as well as reward. The Orcs and Goblins on floor 1 make way to Cave Bears and Archers on floor 2, before Orc Lords, Ogres and the Jotun King stand in your way on level 3. Even more so than the Ratman Hovel, this dungeon truly feels like a great way to progress your character. As you level your skills, obtain your codexes and unlock your aspect, each level of this dungeon will become easier and easier. The piles of 30 gold per mob on level 1 will turn into piles of 500 gold on level 3. This is to say, even as you get stronger, Urkuton Bluffs will serve you well for a long time. There are however 2 things that all new players should note with this dungeon, and it's a classic good news, bad news scenario. Urkuton Bluffs has prevailing NPCs on level 1 and 2. Newer players can actually lure mobs to these NPCs for assistance in combat, meaning, simply put, you'll kill enemies quicker. The bad news though is player beware. Despite this being a dungeon aimed at newer players, PKs will frequently run through this area, as I found out in one of my upcoming adventures. However, as this dungeon has a moon gate on floor 1 and floor 2, as long as you stay relatively near it, the moment you see a PK's name, or if you have tracking, run to the gate, escape with your loot. But for each of these populated areas, there are other less populated, less lucrative areas you can farm. The next one could be for you. Morthuna. Morthuna is, as I mentioned, less frequented, and has less gold opportunity, but that does make it slightly safer for new players. Located well outside of Pavelia, off the beaten path, players actually must use this teleporter to access the island. Here you'll find skeletons, liches and grave robbers galore. The loot is fine, the enemies are fine. It is not the greatest area in Outlands, but it's quiet, has a steady stream of enemies and thus a steady stream of gold and skill gains. A solid place for any new bard, dexter or mage looking to boost their bank balance. However, if you're looking for something a little more enjoyable, more diverse than enemies, with more loot on offer, Burnt Cove is the place for you. This location offers a variety of enemy types, from simple fire elementals and gargoyles all the way to infernal demons, although I'd avoid these if you're new. This is another new firm favourite of mine, as once again it offers progression for your character. At first you'll take on the fire elementals that guard the outer area, before moving inside to take on gargoyles, living flames and other assorted enemies. Best yet, it even has a healer just outside should you accidentally take on more than you can handle. Good gold, a diverse set of enemies, and in my opinion, one of the cooler Outlands POIs. However, before I move on to the last suggestion for this video, I will say there are an abundance of fun farming locations in the wilderness, the outer world of Outlands. Areas like the Ogre Valley are often talked about. However, in this video I skip that location as I often find it's very PK heavy. But I want to make this point as realistically most players go to dungeons or more heavily farmed areas. So if you can just head out into the world and find a few locations for yourself, like this one I'm farming right now near Cambria, you'll discover quiet farming spots all on your own. If I could go back 1 year and give myself advice, it would be to open the map of Outlands and look at the various POIs, exploring them for myself, like we did so many years ago. But talking of dungeons, my last one is again quite obvious: Sanctuary Dungeon. Each week a new dungeon is randomly selected and becomes protected. During this period, no criminal actions can be done inside, meaning no player killing, stealing or looting of your body should you die. The trade-off for the security is that loot drops and experience are reduced, meaning most established players will avoid the Sanctuary Dungeon. However, as a new player, these dungeons are incredible in many ways. To see which dungeon is the current Sanctuary Dungeon, and for how long, you can access the region bonus board next to any town bank. I love this concept as not only does it provide a safe haven for new players, but more importantly, it allows you to experience each dungeon in relative safety, bar, of course, all the monsters trying to kill you. A lot of experienced players will advise you to steer clear of Sanctuary Dungeons, as the gold per hour or the XP is not as good. And while this is true, I personally put exploring the world in the game higher than how much gold I make per hour. And as a new player, being able to learn and explore a new dungeon in relative safety is well worth the reduced reward. You'll have plenty of time to explore packed dungeons once you're more established. I hope you enjoyed this new player focused video. Stories and adventures will return soon. If you did enjoy this video, please leave it a like and consider subscribing. It greatly helps me in the world of YouTube. Thank you as always to my channel members who support my stories. With all that said, thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video.